Hey everyone, it's Enjoy English School!
Yo!
Today it's day 2 of our book club article. Today is November 8th and we're on pages 20 and 21. Of course, our story is called The Knight in Rusty Armor. And yesterday we discussed the story, and today let's learn about the author.
我们继续要跟各位要介绍昨天提过的好为自己出征这本很有趣的书哦 The Knight in Rusty Armor 我们昨天简单的提到说这个武士呢他很厉害对不对但是呢他因为太厉害了想办法当第一武士所以没有时间顾到他的家庭于是他的老婆呢就下了最后通牒要么你给我脱掉盔甲不然我就带着孩子离家出走然后最后想办法脱掉盔甲的他呢却发现盔甲脱不下来了后来他去找了这个魔法师梅林告诉他说啊你必须要走上这真理之道自己去找寻这个问题的解答然后呢中间会经过3个城堡那我们今天要介绍的呢是跟作者有关的事情
So let's do just that. Let's hear our story and when we come back we got paragraph 1.
The Knight in Rusty Armor Robert Fisher was born in California in 1922. Growing up in this time period, he experienced the Great Depression and World War II, as well as many other historic events. By 1953, Robert became a screenwriter for a sitcom television series called Make Room for Daddy. On this show, he co-wrote with Hollywood veteran Alan Lipscott. Over the years, he worked on many other TV shows. On the shows Alice and Bachelor Father, Robert wrote almost every episode. In addition, he was a playwright and had 3 plays that made it to Broadway. The hit The Impossible Years, Minnie's Boys, and Happiness is Just a Little Thing Called a Rolls-Royce. Apart from sitcoms and the stage, Robert Fisher is best known for his short story, The Knight in Rusty Armor. This story uses fantasy and a lighthearted nature to discuss self-discovery and accepting oneself. It is often shared as a self-help book to help people find meaning and happiness in life. Robert died in 2008 at the age of 85. Although he is no longer with us, his accomplishments in television and his books still positively affect the world today.
So one thing that a lot of people like to talk about, especially in fairy tales, is the knight in shining armor.
很多呢大家提到这个童话故事的话都会提到说哇这个武士穿着闪亮亮的盔甲 shining armor 好这种感觉
So to shine to S-H-I-N-E 要出一个 E 才加 I-N-G shining armor just makes you feel like this is the really good knight. This is the person that wants to help and protect you. The bad knight is called like the dark knight. But sometimes Batman's called the Dark Knight too. Or they'll call him the Black Knight. It's a little clearer. This is the bad guy you want to be afraid of. But how did knights keep their armor very clean and shiny?
好所以老师就问到说了你可以听到说可能如果说今天那个盔甲闪亮亮的话就觉得说啊这是一个很好的骑士对不对那如果是坏的骑士可能是 Dark Knight 虽然说这个蝙蝠侠也有可能被称为 Dark Knight 那我们今天要去想说到底这些武士是怎么样让他们的盔甲都能闪闪发光的呢
Well, they have to clean their armor regularly because like our stories call it the rusty armor. That's really bad, right? So they have to take their armor off and clean it. And they'll use 2 things. They'll use sand and pee. They'll pee on the armor. Because now this sounds really disgusting, right? Like you use pee to clean your armor, but think about it. Pee was actually used to clean a lot of things in the past. You could use vinegar, but you had to make vinegar. Your body already makes pee and it's free. So a lot of people would just clean it with like a mix of pee and sand and that would make your armor really, really shiny.
OK， 所以各位听到了吗？真实的答案就是你怎么样让你的这个盔甲闪闪发光呢？很简单，你只要把沙子跟你的尿放在一起，这样能然后去洗你的这个盔甲，就可以闪闪发光喽。
Well, to be fair, it wouldn't be if you were a knight. It wasn't you cleaning it. It was the people that helped you because a knight was usually a pretty wealthy person. So they would have someone, here, I'm going to pee on my armor and you clean it for me, Anthony, okay?
哦，原来如此 ，OK， 这就不是不用自己动手嘛，就是好，我自己来尿，好尿完之后我请别人帮我清，所以老师呢就想说，好，想象他是这个骑士，对不对？然后他尿完之后说，啊 ，Anthony 清一下，哦，
帮我一下
，Yes，
Thank you, sir.
Thank you， 就开始清这样，哇，好恐怖哦，惊悚哎。
Now, what if you're wearing the armor? This is a really common question. How do knights go to the bathroom when they're wearing armor? Well, it's a really funny story. They take off their armor and they go to the bathroom. That's it.
哦，就这样子。所以说，今天你穿上盔甲之后，你要怎么上厕所呢？很简单，把盔甲脱掉，然后去上厕所，就这样。
That's right. It's not a strange story. But what if you're fighting? Well, usually if you're fighting, that person wants to kill you. To be honest, if you're afraid they're going to kill you and you pee yourself, okay, that's fine. There are more important things to worry about. So usually they just took off their armor and went to the bathroom.
哦，
There you go.
原来如此。
Let's continue to our story here. Robert Fisher was born in California in 1922.
好，接下来我们看我们的第一段，他就告诉你了。Robert Fisher was born in California in 1922. 那我们的这个作者呢 ，Robert Fisher， 他是1922年出生于这个加州。
Growing up in this time period, he experienced the Great Depression and World War II, as well as many other historic events, which is true. 很夸张, he lived in a very interesting time.
他处在一个非常非常多事之秋的年代啊！你看，想1922年出生嘛，对不对？好，这句话就告诉你说 ，Growing up in this time period， 好，在这样的年代出生呢 ，he experienced the Great Depression。我记得这个 The Great Depression 是1929年到1933年的时候发生的这种经济大恐慌。然后 World War II， 好，就是在经过了这个，后来又经过2次世界大战 ，as well as many other historic events。如果你用到的是 historic events，that means historically important， 是在历史上很重要的这些重大的事件，他都参与过了。
So a depression can also be about a person's emotions. They feel very dark and heavy. They can't really enjoy themselves. But we're not talking about like your emotions and your feelings. This is an economic depression. This was a really big one that hurt a lot of people all over the world. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have enough food. So it was a serious time.
所以在这边的话，老师提到这个 depression 这个字，除了平常我们当作忧郁症之外，在这边指的话是在经济上出现重大的事件，让大家很多人没有钱，然后买不起东西，然后很多人就死于非命。
By 1953, Robert became a screenwriter for a sitcom television series called Make Room for Daddy.
好，接下来还告诉你了，他在1953年的时候呢 ，Robert became a screenwriter. The screenwriter 就是那种电视的编剧啊，编剧就叫 screenwriter for a sitcom television series. 这就是指这个 sitcom 大家应该知道是 situation comedy， 就是指这种情境喜剧。然后他在电视上的这个情境喜剧，就很像是之前我们提过的6人行啊那种情境喜剧哦。好，这个情境喜剧的名字叫做called Make Room for Daddy， 好，是叫这个名字。
Let's continue here on this show. He co-wrote with Hollywood veteran Alan Lipscott.
好，接下来呢，他说 on this show， 在这个节目里面呢 ，he co-wrote with Hollywood veteran Alan Lipscott。这个人 Alan Lipscott， 他是一个非常非常 veteran， 指的是很有经验的，好，他是好莱坞的很有经验的编剧，他跟这个 Robert 一起合编了这样子的一个节目。
Pick up your pencil 在 veteran th 上面 please write a ch veteran。
在这边的话，虽然你去查字典，它会是 veteran， 但是在念快一点的时候，就会念 veteran。
That's right. I wonder how Bruce would say this. Would he say veteran or veteran?
I think he would say veteran.
Veteran. I think so. But veteran is okay. But for my ears, most foreigners say veteran. Let's continue. Over the years, he worked on many other TV shows.
Over the years, 多年以来呢 he worked on many other TV shows. 他也参与许许多多的这种电视节目的这种编剧。
Okay, and with that, let's take a short break. When we come back, we got more story. Peace. All right, friends, welcome back to Enjoy English School. We're on pages 20 and 21, and today it's day 2 of the book club, and our story is called The Knight in Rusty Armor. This is not shining armor. And we talked about how do you clean your armor, and we talked about a few other things, but we also have to talk about the sword.
我们继续。除了我刚刚前面讲到如何让这个你的盔甲闪亮亮之外，我们也要提到另外一个重要的武器，就是剑。
Yeah, and when you look at movies, a lot of times, I mean, maybe like Star Wars, they're moving their swords really fast. That's right. But most people think swords are really heavy, but really, most swords were about 2 kilograms.
只有2公斤这么重。
That's right. So you could move really fast with it.
Okay.
Even the big, heavy 2-handed swords were really only like 5 or 6 kilograms. So even a heavy sword is still pretty light. A man could easily hold a really big sword. Now, there were some famously big swords. I forget what day. With Minnie, we talked about a story, and we talked about this previously, about coffee. There was a king in the country of Turkey. He's a sultan.
Right.
That's right. And his sword was 50 kilograms. He had a 50-kilogram sword. That's a sword. And if he caught you drinking coffee, he picked up this huge sword and would just cut your head off.
我记得我们之前有提过那个土耳其的沙煮咖啡，然后之前有提过一个这个苏丹王，对不对？他呢还很痛，他自己爱喝，但是他很痛恨别人偷喝，所以当他抓到的时候，他就会把他头砍掉，对不对？他就用50公斤重的剑把它砍掉。
So think that's 10 times heavier than a normal heavy sword. That's crazy. So yeah, anybody can really, even like a kid can honestly hold a pretty small sword and be dangerous with it. But armor would protect you from most swords. It was usually only like the poorer soldiers that couldn't stop a sword. They were wearing like thick clothes, or they were wearing like metal. It's called mail, M-A-I-L. Just 这个另外一个种类的。And that's who they were trying to kill with the sword. The knights, you would hit them with the sword and just boing.
Yeah, 所以说基本上，如果你穿上盔甲的话，你对于剑的攻击其实是不是太害怕的？因为它可以很轻松的弹掉这样子的这种攻击。
That's right. The knights in shining armor were afraid of the crossbow, and they were afraid of war hammers. It's basically a huge hammer, just pow. They would break bones. That's what they were afraid of.
OK， 所以说，如果你今天穿着盔甲的话，你真正会害怕的大概会是像十字弓，或者甚至有人拿那种铁锤棒打上去的话，会把你骨头打碎，那是你要害怕的武器。
Yeah, we always think swords, but not really. There we go. So let's continue here to our story. On the shows, Alice and Bachelor Father Robert wrote almost every episode.
好，接下来告诉你更多他有参与过这种电视剧的这种制作哦。他说 On the shows, Alice 这是一部 and Bachelor Father 这2部呢 Robert wrote almost every episode. 他几乎是每一集都他写的。
That's, it's funny. I remember seeing Alice on TV when I was a little kid. That makes me feel really old. Like we watched a little bit of the TV show Alice before the program, and looking at it looks really old. But I mean, I was a little kid when it was on, so. All right. In addition, he was a playwright and had 3 plays that made it to Broadway. The hit The Impossible Years, Minnie's Boys, and Happiness is just a little thing called a Rolls Royce, okay?
OK， 好，现在我们看这句话，告诉你说 ，in addition， 好，他前面介绍过他的这个电视剧嘛，对不对？除此之外呢 ，he was a playwright， 他还是剧作家哦。And had 3 plays that made it to Broadway. 他有了3部作品，他能直接在百老汇上面上映，好出演的。The hit, The Impossible Years. 好，热门的有 The Impossible Years. 好 ，Minnie's Boys. And happiness is just a little thing called a Rolls Royce. A Rolls Royce 就是那个劳斯莱斯这个
A very expensive car.
没错
Only rich people can buy one.
没错没错，他说快乐就是有一台劳斯莱斯这种感觉。
Yeah, it's hard to buy a Rolls Royce. They won't even let regular people buy them sometimes.
没错。
So when we have the word, we can look at the word playwright, and it looks strange because we have W-R-I-G-H-T. 这个就是跟 write 一样的意思 W-R-I-T-E. Don't be afraid of this word. It just means a person that writes plays. Let's continue. Apart from sitcoms and the stage, Robert Fisher is best known for his short story, The Knight in Rusty Armor.
好，接下来就告诉你了。Apart from sitcoms， 不管是他的情景喜剧啦 ，and the stage 或是舞台剧啦，除了这些之外呢 ，Robert Fisher is best known for his short story。好，是最为人津津乐道的，就是他的一个短短的短篇小故事，就是我们今天讲的《The Knight in Rusty Armor》为自己出征这本小书。
This story uses fantasy and a lighthearted nature to discuss self-discovery and accepting one's self.
好，就要告诉你说 ，This story uses fantasy。好，这个故事本身用一种比较奇幻的方式 ，and a lighthearted nature， 而且用一种比较轻松愉快的这种口吻呢。好 ，to discuss self-discovery， 去谈论好 self-discovery 自我发现。And accepting oneself， 好，去接纳自己这件事情。
When you accept yourself, that means you're okay with the good things and the bad things you do, which I think is a good idea, right? Remember, it was only after he went to the castle's silence, knowledge, and will and daring that he could jump, and then the armor fell off. He didn't need someone to pull it off. He couldn't pull it off himself. He just said, I am who I am, and this is my good things and my bad things, and the armor went away. He was able to be free.
呀、没有错。所以在这边这个地方的话，也是同样的概念啊，就像是他先经历了一段自我发现的过程，然后最发现到说，接受了我自己好的，或是自己没有那么好的，我全部一概的都接受。接受之后，他也再也不需要那个盔甲了。
It is often shared as a self-help book to help people find meaning and happiness in life.
好，接下来他就告诉你说 ，It is often shared。好，这个故事常常会被人家分享，然后 as a self-help book。self-help book 就是指那种类似像是励志、自我强化、自我成长、心灵成长那样子的那种类型的书籍 ，to help people find meaning and happiness in life， 帮助人家在生命之中找到快乐、找到意义。
Our next sentence says, Robert died in 2008 at the age of 85.
然后接下来我们就看到了我们讲的这个 Robert Fisher， 他在2008年的时候过世了。好，过世的时间呢刚好85岁 ，at the age of 85.
Although he is no longer with us, his accomplishments in television and his books still positively affect the world today.
好，你看他最后告诉你说 ，Although he is no longer with us， 虽然呢他已经不在这个世界上，已经不与我们同在了。His accomplishments in television， 他在电视圈里头他所创造的成就 ，and his books still positively affect the world today。好，还有他的书籍呢，还是不断的影响我们，时至今日还是不断的提供我们许多正面的影响。
When you look at some of his old TV shows, Make Room for Daddy, Alice, when we think of his plays, Happiness is just a little thing called a Rolls Royce. These feel like old ideas. They feel really old-fashioned to us. But his story, The Knight in Rusty Armor, feels timeless because it comes from a time long before us. We know all of these ideas are old. They don't feel old-fashioned. They're just old. And because they're so old, in a way, they kind of just 可以跳那个 like 这个奇怪的那个几年前的那个想法 It goes to somewhere different where it's like everybody can just accept these different ideas in a new way.
Yeah， 没有错。所以在这边的话，老师特别提到说，其实，在前面 make room for daddy， 好，它是类似像这种的话，你可以发现到，你去看的时候，它感觉上是很老的。
Yeah.
可是到后面，它为自己出征， 这样子的主题，这样的故事，它是 timeless。老师用 timeless 代表是它是一个经典，而且它是不会随着时间而觉得说，哇，这已经退流行了，这谁在看呢？它是一个不变的，大家都会觉得不同的年代、不同的时间去看，都有不同感受的这样的作品。
Were you ever interested in kind of knights and armor and this time that this book takes place in?
Yes, definitely.
And when you were like a kid, or like tell me about like your feelings about this kind of this time.
I think it's, in the Middle Ages is a terrible time to live in. Yeah, that I know. But I'm still fascinated by the idea
kind
of
of
living.
a romantic idea.
A romantic idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I was really interested in this time period. And the more I learned about it, the less I liked it.
Yeah.
Like today, if you ask me, I think anybody that really knows my feelings about history knows I think the Middle Ages was a terrible time. Like I would never go there. In a million years, I would never go there. It was too terrible for me. But as a kid, I was really interested and fascinated by this time. So I kind of wonder how you guys feel about this. Are you interested in knights and like armor and the Middle Ages time period, like these Europeans that just want to fight all the time?
所以老师呢想问的问题是，如果说像是你的话，你会不会喜欢像中古世纪这样子的场景，然后这样的故事，穿着盔甲
Kings，
然后在中古世纪这样子的氛围呢？如果喜欢，或是你有任何想法，麻烦留言跟我们知道一下，告诉我们你的想法哦。
All right, and just before we go, I got one more fact. I wanted to tell everyone this. If you watch a movie about knights and like horses, they always show you like carrying the person. They use like a machine to pull the knight up and plop them on the horse. They didn't have to do that. Remember, these were maybe 25 kilograms, which is not light, but you can walk around with 25 kilograms on you. Soldiers today have more than that. Firefighters have more than 25 kilograms. They needed a step to get up, but that's because horses are tall, not because the armor was really heavy. That whole thing of like, you need a machine to get on the horse, total Hollywood. 100% Hollywood.
所以说你在电影上看到说他们有一些专用的器具，然后把这个武士把它运到这个马上面。事实上它是需要那个高度而已，但不是因为说这个身上的盔甲特别重，因为盔甲大概只有25公斤左右。我们平常士兵或者是消防队员穿的东西绝对比那个重很多，所以事实上那些你看到那东西，很多时候在电影上看到，纯粹是好莱坞的噱头而已。
Yeah. All right, let's get ready for vocab review. All right, friends, it's time for vocab review, and our first word is depression. Now, this is, remember, like the economic depression, no money.
没错 ，depression 这边指的是这种经济大萧条的萧条。
Number 2, we have historic.
Historic 就在历史上很重要的。
Number 3, make it to.
Make it to 这边讲到是他的这些作品，他的这个剧作能够一路抵达，能够最后通往，好，或是一路杀到这种决赛，都可以用 make it to.
His plays made it to Broadway. Number 4, apart from.
Apart from 除了什么什么之外。
Number 5, lighthearted.
Lighthearted 就是比较轻松的感觉。
The opposite of lighthearted would be heavy.
Heavy 就很沉重哦。
Our next word, number 6, is an accomplishment.
An accomplishment 就是指成就的意思。
Number 7, positively.
Positively 记得 positive 就是正面的，它这边的话需要的是那个副词，所以 positively you can say something positively affects the world， 好，正面的影响着这个世界。
And lastly, we have to affect.
Affect 就是影响。
And that's it for today. And that's it for our story on the Rusty Knight. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us some fun facts you are interested in about knights. Maybe there's something we didn't know. You can share it with us.
没错。
And let us know in the comments. For Enjoy English School, I am Chris Gorski.
I'm Antony.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.